Hey Philippa, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, good, good. So, whereabouts are you in the world at this moment in time? Because obviously we had COVID. Most people are like evacuated where they you probably usually were, or they've kind of gone to like a remote like place in I don't know in the countryside somewhere. So, whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm in LA, which is my home normally, so I've been able to stay in my place.
Oh, amazing. And what's happening with LA at the moment? Are you still in lockdown? What's going on over there?
It's slowly reopening. Restaurants just started letting people sit outside. Um, Everyone's wearing masks still, obviously. I feel like people are slowly letting go, and it's
Yeah.
kind of amazing to see. Like bars opened a couple weeks ago, or outdoor, anything outdoors opened a couple weeks ago, and everyone is out. I feel like people are dying to be out.
Well, we just had a. I'm in London at the moment, well, in Southwest, and so we just had an announcement today that we're locked down. Our lockdown is probably going to be easing the end of March, going into April, and hopefully we're not going to have any restrictions by June. And people have just gone like, I've now got to wait until like middle of April to like just to meet a friend outside my house, and people are just going mental now because that would be nearly 4 months inside in a lockdown, in our third lockdown.
Insane. It's really surreal.
I,
But I
it,
feel like I'm kind of excited to see if there's an explosion once everything opens up again. I
literally,
feel like people are going to go nuts.
this is what my friends say to me. Like when we go to like parties or like dinners, people are just going to go absolutely mental. Babies are going to be happening more. People do more drugs. People are going to do more. Everything that you think people did in moderation is going to go out the window. People are just going to go mental.
Yeah.
So,
I'm excited.
so you were living in the UK before you were living in LA?
I was born in England. My family moved when I was 8. So I would say I'm more from LA. My passport says otherwise, but I would say I'm from LA. We moved to LA and then I grew up here and then I went to college in New York and I lived in New York for almost 5 years and then
So do you
I'm
have
a sunshine person.
do you have dual citizenship then?
I actually don't. It's a long story. It's a long, funny story, but I feel like we don't need to talk about it on the podcast. The rest of my family does. It was like a whole muddle situation.
We don't need to go into it. We don't need to go into it.
No,
But anyone that I know that has it, I'm just like that is like the sacred grail. If you can have an American
yeah,
passport and a UK passport, you're like set because unless you're like in Australia, Australians to get into there is quite difficult as well. If you can get like a passport for there, so if you can kind of get like the main kind of three Australians and the US one and the UK one, if you can get any one of those three, you're kind of set because like I mean, obviously, like we've just split from EU, so it's gonna be a lot more
I
difficult.
know. I was going to say the UK passport used to be way better.
I know. I'm assuming you've heard like where if you're UK, you have to now get visas, even if you're like a musician and before you're an artist moving around. And they were apparently the musician union or the arts union were like drawing up plans with the government and the EU to go. Oh, it'll be a simple thing. We don't need to. It doesn't need a complicated visa. And then the base of the UK were like the UK government were like, no, it's too complicated. And the EU is going, what? It was simple. We were super game. And so all these musicians and all these actors and everyone are now coming together to go, why have we not got like a visa that supports us? Because it's going to affect so many people that travel across the world, especially for us as well. And well, for me who lives in the UK, but any artist that does touring, it's just the whole world is going a bit mental at the moment, I think.
Oh yeah, completely
Crazy,
mental.
crazy. So you would class yourself as someone that lives in LA. What is the best thing about being in LA?
The nature, I think. The being able to be in a city, but also be an hour drive from pretty much any within an hour you can get to the beach, to the desert, to the snow, to Mexico.
Mhm.
I think, yeah, the outdoors, but
Yeah.
having all the convenience of a city.
Did you
And obviously the weather.
did you enjoy your time though when you were in New York studying up there?
I loved New York. I loved it. I'm definitely not a winter person, and I think that's what kind of made me come back. But I really miss. I don't know. I always say LA is like comfortable. It's New York's like a roller coaster. So I miss the highs of New York.
Yeah, because
I
it's
still get that like excited butterfly feeling in my stomach when I'm like taking the taxi from the airport. It's nothing like it.
you're always on the go in New York. And
Yeah.
I remember one time I was with my friend in London, and he was coming over for Fashion Week, and they had a shoot the next day, and it was like 11:30 at Soho House, and my friend is a PR person, the other one was a designer, and they had a shoot the next day at like 6 a.m. whatever. And this is no word what happened. Basically, my friend was like, I really want something pulled for this shoot. And the New York guy was like, don't worry, I'll sort it out. This is 11:30 in the evening. He rang up the designers or whatever and made sure it flew over somehow in the morning to arrive on the next day on set. And I'm like, if you're in the UK, if you're British, you have like kind of clock off time. You just okay, it's not possible. It's 11:30 at night. It's not going to happen. But I think people who are like Americans, especially New Yorkers, they never stop. It just is like it just
I've
keeps.
noticed that with production. I've shooting in London versus shooting here in New York is very different. People have hours in London. People don't have hours here.
Yeah.
It's kind of insane.
Yeah. So I want to know. We'll go back and then we'll go forward because I like that. Where did it all start? Because your vision is I've never seen any kind of creative like yours. Like compared like everyone that I know in the industry, you're so unique the way that you construct your world with the work that you work on, and especially with like the kind of with like the Fenty sort of stuff and the Japan project that you did. Like it's just, I mean, I watched the video and I was like, this came out someone's mind. This is mental. So I would love to know, like, where did it all start? Where did your creative kind of juices start flowing?
I get this question a lot, especially from my parents. They're like, "Where did this come from?" I think I mean, according to them, I've always been a creative. I've always been kind of living in my own little world and my imagination. Um, I also had a very bad accident and hit my head when I was little, and I swear that maybe like rattled my brain in a little bit, a little bit differently.
Yeah.
um, but I think I've always been, yeah, I've always been creating. I've always been making. When I was growing up, I was uh, much more into science. I kind of always thought I was going to go the science route. Actually won the California State Science when I was like 14.
There you go.
And then I think, I don't know, around like 17, I kind of switched and decided to go to art school. I went to art school in New York, and everything kind of grew from there, I think. But I get asked this a lot. I don't know where it comes from. My dreams, I like to live in my dreams. So
Yeah.
I guess that's where it comes from.
I read a theory that you apparently, I don't know if you believe this, but like our dreams, this is what they think. Our dreams are a gateway to another universe that's happening simultaneously at the same time. This is what I read.
I love that theory. I think, yeah, I mean, I'm obsessed. My dreams are insane. And so I write down my dreams a lot. And I don't know if I mean, maybe they are a gateway to another universe. Whatever they are, they're a gateway to something crazy going on in my mind.
Because it's funny, some people actually don't dream. Like some people are like, or they can't remember their dreams, because a lot of people wake up in the next morning and go, I think I had a dream about a dinosaur, but I can't really remember it. Can you vividly remember like what you've dreamt about?
Yeah, I started writing my dreams down probably like 10 years ago, and the more I write them down, the more I remember them. So I obviously go through phases where I'm not writing them down in the mornings, and I find that in those phases I'm not remembering them as much, and then once I start really writing them down, it's crazy how much I remember in the morning. It has to be in that, there's like that moment where the dream is there and you kind of have to not think and just let it flow out. And then I look back at this diary of my dreams and I'm like, what the fuck? Like I don't remember them like, you know, a week later when I look
Yeah.
back at what I wrote down, I don't remember it. And
Have you
I don't know, it's pretty awesome.
I'd be interested to know, like, because obviously your dreams are so elusive and they're so kind of out there, and it obviously they probably don't make any sense when you just write them down, but later on they probably make sense. Have you ever thought about speaking to like a psychologist or someone who's really expert in kind of memories and dreams and stuff like that, and go, I'm having these dreams. Do they mean, because obviously dreams are sometimes subconscious thoughts that we're projecting in our kind of reality.
Mm. Well, I mean, I've read a lot of Carl Jung's books, and he kind of that is a lot of his theory, is how our dreams are a window into our deeper psyche. So I guess I've tried to do my own analysis,
Yeah.
which is really fun to be like, for example, recently, the past month, I would say every single night, this girl who bullied me when I was in 5th grade, and I haven't seen or thought about her since. She has been appearing in my dreams every single night, like randomly. She's just in my dreams. And so I'm obviously right now, I'm like, why? Like, why is this girl appearing in my dreams? What does it mean? What am I thinking about? It's, yeah, I haven't thought about going to see anyone, but I spend a lot of time trying to understand why I'm dreaming the things that I'm dreaming.
Yeah.
The craziest though is having premonition dreams. I've had a few of those, and that's pretty
Premonition
magical.
dreams,
Where something happens and then it happens, or I see someone in my dreams that I haven't seen in years, and then they call me the next day.
Oh, that's crazy, isn't it?
Coincidence or psychic? I don't know.
Well, you know what they say though, because obviously I don't know if you believe in like kind of the law of attraction, energy, and that sort of thing, but
100%.
they definitely say, well, it's even before kind of Jesus Christ, the previous religions, when it was about 100 AD, would always talk about harnessing the power of the stars, right? This is, you might believe, you might not. So obviously, all the pyramids and all the kind of sculptures are around the world are all lined up with stars, right? So what they think is that if someone's thinking of you or has an intention or something, that energy can radiate to you. So potentially this person that you're thinking of that bullied you has maybe thought about you previously, and that energy is kind of moved over to you, and that's why you're getting these dreams.
I would love to know if she's thinking of me. You know who you are.
No, but so I would also like to know as well that when you're in your creative process, because you have all these kind of dreams and you have these ideas, how do you, I think what my question is, when you have such a strong brand identity and such a strong vision, how do you meld that into the briefs and the work that you do, unless you do your own personal work, which is solely just you? How do you merge that and convince clients to go, this is what I've dreamed yesterday night, I think we should go this way? And it might be slightly different to their brand image, but like your brand image, that's why they're working with you, because they want your essence.
Right. I think, I mean, it's taken me probably to the 10 years since I've graduated college to really get to be good at that. But I'm definitely good at kind of transitioning between left and right brain. And like, I know that in my head, I'm my inspiration, and I also know that the end result will feel like my dream, but I have gotten pretty good at presenting it in English and in like putting together a great PDF and being able to talk about it in a way that makes sense to the clients. Yeah, definitely the power of presentation is super important. I feel like that's something I learned in art school. Like, you know, in every class that I was doing, even in whether it was the fine arts classes or something more like graphic design, every step of the way, whatever project we had, kind of every week in our class, we had to present, like, first would be our research, and then we'd get critiqued on our research, and then the next week we'd have to present our rough. And so it was something I got really good at in art school, being able to explain your work and being able to take critique and being able to kind of evolve with critique and with talking to people about it.
Because a lot of this is about just going, I've got an idea, but it's about I think the best people
Selling the idea.
yeah, it's about how to translate the idea into a paper to make people
That's
believe.
95% of
Yeah.
it.
And it's a
Selling the ideas has become a huge part of it. And
yeah.
it's something actually I'm constantly, especially with my other friends who are directors or creatives, I talk about a lot, is what's happened to presentations now and how frustrating actually it's become. There's this thing now called reference images, which I hate, which everyone now has to see reference images. And it's become, I feel like that's why so much work is starting to look the same, because clients now don't even want to hear an idea unless there's reference images. But I'm always saying, but my idea has never been done before, so I can't find any reference images that show what my idea is going to be.
Do you draw it though? Because I looked into one director, and he kind of like photoshops. He gets an image and then messes it all up and then makes it something that he needs to.
Yeah, that's what I've started drawing. I really try my hardest to avoid Pinterest, which I think is where everyone goes now.
Yeah.
I try to find like weird internet archive, historical. I actually go to libraries and scan books, which is pretty fun. But yeah, it's frustrating because I think I actually recently, not recent, this past year makes such a time warp. A year ago, I turned in a treatment. It feels like recently.
Yeah.
I turned in a treatment that was written, and the client said, oh, thank you for this, but where's the treatment? And I was like, this is the treatment. You just have to read it.
Yeah.
But they wanted to see images. It's fun. People, I find it very frustrating.
Yeah, because people, especially within the commercial and brand world, people have to see what they're buying, and
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
sometimes they haven't got the imagination to see your world. Because when you, for instance, your Japan film that you did, like to write that out, I would be like, oh, okay, and then to read it, to visualize someone blowing this dust thing through like these holes, like I'd be like, oh, so you have to be really creative, and some people just aren't, like clients aren't that creative. They need to
Yeah.
put it in front of them. So I think it is a sort of balance, and I think I've seen a lot more kind of GIF sort of things and animation in decks that come to me that when I'm working with people, and I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense, because now moving image is such a massive part, especially because COVID has been such a situation. Have you felt a shift in your work as well to go more into the kind of moving image sort of like CGI sort of world as well, and the visual effects and that sort of thing, compared to like still images and that sort of world?
Yeah, I feel like I was always in moving imagery, and actually kind of the start of my doing video and digital content, I had no idea what I was doing. So I was animating myself. I was doing a lot of animation back in the beginning. And I felt like I've kind of drifted away from that. And then during COVID, it's been a time to sit at my computer and kind of get back into doing some of that kind of stuff.
I read, this is what I love about you. I read that you were offered to do a lyric video for Pharrell, and then you were like, oh yeah, I can definitely do it. And then you were like watching all the YouTube tutorials, and I'm like, absolutely yes, this is amazing.
Absolutely, yes, that happened. Yeah, I right out of college, I had a clothing brand, and I was doing a clothing brand with my best friend, and we got really good at faking it till we made it. And kind of the clothing brand on the outside, it was like we were really successful. We were selling in all the stores we wanted to sell in. Like everyone cool was wearing it. We never had investors, so secretly we were like living at home and eating like beans and rice to keep our clothing brand going. But when it ended, yeah, I signed with the agency Maven, and the first job that came to them, I guess Pharrell had seen my I think he'd worn some of our clothing. He'd seen my work through our clothing brand and wanted me to do a lyric video. And my agent was like, do you know how to do that? And I said, yes. She's like, he wants an animated video. I was like, yeah, I can do that. Totally went to the desert with my friend and a GoPro, and I shot my friend with a GoPro, and then came back and spent like a week watching animation YouTube tutorials and figuring out how to animate over the GoPro footage. And
is it still out there, the video? I'd love to see
it. It's on my site. I think it is not on YouTube anymore. It's still one of my favorite pieces that I've made, actually. I think I always say my best work comes from when I don't know what I'm doing. I think I love trying something that I don't know how to do. I would say that was a time where I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, and I just said, yes, I can do it, and I figured it out. I think the Rihanna Brits performance that I did also absolutely had no idea what I was doing, and that was on a way bigger scale, and that was live, and it's still, I think, one of my favorite things that I did. I feel like the energy around like jumping off a cliff basically blindfolded, it creates like some creative magic.
And it's sort of like not a frantic energy, but like okay, it's happening. Right, do it. Right, okay. Would you say as a creator, because I know people say like, I want to be different and I want to create authentic work and I don't want to keep repeating myself, and then they say, oh, I do things a bit different, I do things differently in each project, but actually you don't really. Do you actively seek out, when you do a project, that you try to push the boundaries as much as possible, so you're not recreating the thing that people, because obviously people buy into a brand,
what you've done before, right?
It's always like what you've done before. Do you actively go, I haven't tried this before, I think it's really cool, I don't know that world, but let's just try it and see what happens?
Absolutely, yeah. I think I mean, I definitely have work where I am doing something that I know how to do, and even looking back on those projects, maybe other people can't see it, but I feel like I see the dip in creativity of projects where I'm kind of repeating a process. But yeah, I love trying to bring in something new that I don't know how. I don't know. There's something in the fear of it not working that really pushes me, I think, to make it work.
Yeah. And just a really random one. You can't see this, everyone, but she's got the most amazing tattoos on her hands, and I'd love to know what they are.
Oh, there's so many.
Yeah, there's so many. There's so many. They're so cool. And I mean, I've only got 2 tattoos on my hands, and I want more. But I love people with tattoos because I'm assuming they're all quite meaningful.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of eyes. I mean, you can see behind me.
Yeah, behind you got eyes. As well. Did you draw that yourself as well?
The ones behind me were from a music video that actually never came out. We made like a giant billboard. It was inspired by the eyes in The Great Gatsby. Do you remember how they always drive past the giant billboard? Mm-hmm. So that was part of the set. And then I have eyes all over. I feel like so many tattoo eyes. This is a.
I was gonna say, what does
this is my most recent one.
Is that,
what is the eye? Truth, and I think always looking, always observing, I guess. I mean, I try to always have my eyes open for inspiration and for to always be inspired. I think also the eye is a symbol. It's in everything. I think it's like my stamp in my work. I don't know. And I also like that it gets people riled up, kind of. Like I love that, like when I put it in work for bigger pop stars or something, then I love the conspiracy theories that follow, even though they're like, oh, the Illuminati, Katy Perry, Illuminati. I'm like, no, I just put an eye in her video.
I was just about to say, because the eye is in the middle of the Illuminati, of the triangle, isn't it? And I was just about to say that. I was like, oh, yeah, it's something similar to that. It's so fascinating how people find references, because we always have to reference something. We can't just go, oh, that looks great. We always go, oh, that looks like something else. And it's so
right.
As human beings, we have to find some relatability to it, to something that we've seen before. Because if not, we just can't handle it.
Right. I try to make things that people have never seen before.
You do that very successfully.
That's my goal, I think, in life.
Yeah, but you do, though, and your work is so fresh and so original. I was saying before the podcast, I was like, this is your work is so out there. I haven't seen many creative people who create like you do, and I think that's what's so captivating about you. And this is why I wanted you on the podcast. I was like, I'm so fascinated with how you think, because what I love about the creative arts and how we kind of operate is that we always, like, you don't know someone, you only just see their work, so you're just going, what is that well, for me personally, I think about what is that person actually like when I see that work. I'm like, what are they? Expressive? Are they introverted? Are they nice? Are they not nice? Like, I'm always fascinated with those sort of things because we only see that work, and that's why it's so lovely to talk to you now, because I get to know you a little bit better. And then I go, when I next see your work, I'm like, oh, I can feel her energy now. I can kind of see where her mind is. I can see that is now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that's an interesting thing that's changed, that is changing for artists now too, because I do feel like through history, I mean, still for me, I express myself through my work, and that is my identity. And even doing interviews, I'm sometimes like, I don't want to answer all these questions about my work because this is how I speak. But now with social media, there's a lot of artists are exposing themselves as a person, which is something I actually, I don't, not that I try not to do, I just don't do that much. And I think it's interesting now to see how people are expressing their identities on top of also being creatives.
Yeah.
It's something I feel like is a strange new evolution in our collective identity.
Yeah, and I think this happens with social media, because we now want to know the person behind the brand or the person behind the work. 'Cause we want to see everything.
Right.
And it even happened. I was watching a documentary on social media and reality TV, and like when Big Brother came about years and years ago, that was kind of when the floodgates opened, when like people could like pry into your life, and when paparazzi went absolutely mental for celebrities. And now we're in a day
Yeah.
and age where like everything, like from TikTok to your social media, Twitters and that sort of thing, it's all like to pry into every aspect of your life, and it's so difficult to find privacy nowadays.
I can't keep up with it. I don't do it. And then I have like my manager being, some people are like, you need to put yourself out there more on social media, but I don't know how people have the time. I'm like, I don't have the time to think about doing a selfie video of myself while I'm doing this. I don't know. I can't do it. Makes me feel weird.
What was also, if it doesn't, I always say to people, if it doesn't feel authentic to you, don't
Yeah.
do it, because audiences are very clever now, and they can smell when it's not you being authentic self, and when someone like your manager or client saying, oh, do this, because we can like most people can tell, but some people really enjoy it. And I don't know how influencers and have all the time to kind of do that, plus then work on content, plus creative. And I mean nowadays we need like 27 hours a day rather than 24 hours a day.
It's crazy.
It's
I'm so curious where it's going to evolve to, and if it's gonna swing back the other way, or if it's gonna, yeah, it's kind of exciting to what's social media gonna, what's the future of social media? It's exciting and scary.
And what's your take on kind of avatars? I'm sure you've probably seen it. Like people, you have your avatar on like a social media thing, and then people like you buy like rented outfits and stuff and put them on your avatar for like Instagram. And obviously there's like digitally made models that go on to like campaigns and that sort of thing. And so this is sort of like the way forward sort of thing.
It's fascinating. I think it's fascinating. I think the line between avatar reality, I mean, especially it's interesting for me in my work, like in some of the campaigns that I've done lately, obviously casting influencers is now a thing. And so I've shot some influencers, and meeting them in real life, I'm like, wait, their real person online is actually an avatar. It looks and acts nothing like the influencer that I thought we were shooting. So I think there's like the obvious, like you said, buying these digital avatars and stuff, but then I also think there's a total blurred line now between people projecting their real selves and actually it's just an avatar of their real selves. I find it fascinating. It's something I don't participate in personally, but it's fascinating to observe.
It's, isn't it, the way that the society is going now? It's quite scary, and AI and all that sort of thing. I spoke to many kind of VFX sort of like people, and like people who work in the CGI world, and I've kind of expressed this thing going, what's going to happen to AI, and are you accepting of it, and how much are you pushing it, and how much are you going, we shouldn't push too quickly because we'll run ahead of ourselves. And I absolutely love human connection. I love that I hope this kind of COVID experiences hasn't made half of the kind of industry only just go do remote shooting and all that sort of thing. I hope maybe in a year's time that we go back to flying to do a job or whatever, that sort of thing, because I honestly love speaking to humans and I love meeting new people, and I can't think of anything why we would want to, I don't know, eliminate our connection in real life.
Yeah, I hope so. I think I believe I have to believe so. I mean, I was just talking to a friend about this the other day, that they're doing all this Zoom. I mean, especially a lot, like we were talking about earlier, a lot of what I do is presenting to clients, and I know a lot of what gets me a job is my energy in person. And I think in Zoom, you kind of you become like a flat image on a screen, and you lose the ability to read someone else's like aura, I guess, in person. And it's strange to, I've been doing a lot of I've been having to, meet people through Zoom for the first time. And I think you miss a huge part of them when you're meeting someone on a flat screen over the World Wide Web.
Yeah. So over the last kind of year in lockdown, you obviously must be reflecting on stuff. I'd love to do like a give back, what we do at the end of our episode. If you could kind of sum up like an inspiration that's happened to you recently, maybe a kind of artwork or person that you've met, what would you kind of give back to an audience to kind of inspire them?
Let me think.
So,
I mean, I feel like this is kind of an
so many
I know, I'm like,
so many different ways to go.
Yeah, I know. I feel like this is maybe an obvious one, but I think it's something that we've all universally had to do, and also something that I try and live by, is just accepting the waves, I guess. I think even before COVID, as a creative, learning to accept the waves of creativity was something that kind of, as I came out of art school, at first it can be really scary as an artist when you suddenly feel like you have no ideas, and you're like, oh my God, like, am I ever going to feel that creative high again? And I remember a few years ago, I read how the Greeks believed that creativity wasn't something that was within you. It was like an energy that came to you. And as an artist, you're like a vessel that this energy comes in and out of. And that was something that always, now I kind of meditate on a lot, is like accepting that I don't own my creativity. It's something that kind of the spirit that comes to me, and it makes me feel better when I have these periods where I'm not feeling so creative. And then I think in a bigger sense, just applying that to what's happened this year, like accepting this wave that we're all seemingly at the bottom of. And kind of, I think, learning, I mean, everyone I know who's been living these super fast-paced lives before, like everyone is talking about is how nice this year has been to like really slow down and reflect and kind of reassess what is important, like especially in what I do and the world I live in. Everyone is, I'm a workaholic and I love being a workaholic, but taking this year to kind of be like, wait, it's okay to take the weekends. It's okay to stop, I guess. So yeah, I think
it's good. It's going back onto your thought that I absolutely love about you don't own your creativity or energy. Like there's one reference that I can remember. It's one of my favorite songs, and it was by Goo Goo Dolls, called Iris. And I remember watching an interview of him, and he said, and because the lyrics are so beautifully made, and he said, it wasn't me, it was just this energy that came to me that gave me those lyrics. And I absolutely love that, because I think we are just a vessel that of just inspiration that's coming in, opportunities that are coming around us. And each of us have our own journey and path that we're going down, that we're going to see things differently than someone else does. And so we're just open to different inspirations. And then that kind of mixed up in a little pot makes the kind of idea that we have. And I absolutely love that. So I love
Yeah, I think it feels like that. It can definitely, when you hit these moments or ideas or inspirations, or when you're in these projects, it totally sometimes feels like this huge wave of energy has just hit you, and like you're on this creative high. And I think, yeah, I always, after I read about that, I always like to think that I'm like, it's not within me, it's something that comes to me, and I'm lucky that this comes to me. And when it feels like this creative spirit is not hanging out with me, I accept the fact that I know she'll come back.
Yeah, so true. Well, I want to say thank you so much for giving us your time to be on 360 Yourself. It's been absolutely a pleasure, and I know people will definitely check out your work more now after this podcast. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It was awesome talking to you.